Now, from the Bay Area's local news station, you're watching KRON4 News at 6.
Six moments of silence. America pauses to remember and reflect 20 years after the 9/11 attacks. Each bell tolling for the moments that the planes hit the World Trade Center, when each tower fell, when another plane hit the Pentagon, and the crash of United Flight 93 near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. That flight headed to the Bay Area. That's where we start this Saturday here on KRON4 News at 6. Thanks so much for joining us here on this solemn day of reflection. I'm Jonathan McCall. Justine has the night off. 20 years after the shocking images of terror flooded our screens, the emotions of today still so raw for many folks across America and here in the Bay Area. During a ceremony this morning, President Joe Biden talked about the pain still being felt and the patriotism of the country right after those attacks.
We saw heroism everywhere, in places expected and unexpected. We also saw something all too rare, a true sense of national unity.
President Biden joined at today's ceremony in New York City by former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama and former New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg. Meanwhile, at the Shanksville, Pennsylvania site where United Flight 93 was taken down, former President George W. Bush echoed President Biden's sentiments.
So much of our politics has become a naked appeal to anger, fear, and resentment. I can only tell you what I've seen. On America's day of trial and grief, I saw millions of people instinctively grab for a neighbor's hand and rally to the cause of one another. That is the America I know.
President Biden also attended the Shanksville site after making comments in New York City and Washington, D.C. Vice President Kamala Harris also attended that same memorial service by President George W. Bush this morning.
So please know your nation sees you, and we stand with you, and we support you. We are gathered today on hallowed ground, at this place that has been sanctified by sacrifice, to honor the heroism that the 40 passengers and crew members showed in the face of grave terrorism. What happened on Flight 93 told us then, and it still tells us so much about the courage of those on board who gave everything they possibly could.
Meanwhile, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi releasing this statement saying in part, quote, "The terror attacks on the morning of September 11th forever changed our nation and the world. These acts of incomprehensible evil left heartbreaking images seared into our collective memory. Today and every day, we reaffirm our sacred commitment to pay tribute to the fallen, the survivors, and the heroes. Though the rubble has been cleared, the fires extinguished, and our cities rebuilt, the painful memories of September 11th remain forever etched in the hearts of every American, inspiring us to come together to build a more peaceful future for generations to come." Meanwhile, the city of San Francisco taking time today to remember the lives lost in the 9/11 terror attacks during a ceremony this morning. KRON4's Camila Barco takes us there.
9/11 is a day America won't forget. The San Francisco Fire and Police Department remembered those who lost their lives, but they also recognized the people who stepped up to help when the nation was under attack.
I can register some of the situations as we speak.
After 20 years, the sights and sounds of 9/11 replay in Jeffrey Moreno's head.
I can recall just about every location we were at and basically what we did and what we did see.
He's among the 11 San Francisco firefighters who flew out to New York City to help first responders at Ground Zero.
The gravity was overwhelming. Thinking that we could possibly save someone, which wasn't the case.
Among the heroes is Harry Ong's sister and San Francisco native Betty Ong.
Betty's call resulted in the shutdown of over 6,000 planes up in the air or who were scheduled to fly that day.
She was a flight attendant on American Airlines Flight 11.
Okay, my name is Betty Ong. I'm number 3 on Flight 11.
5 people hijacked that plane.
Betty called American Airlines and relayed vital information about the ongoings within the plane and identified the 5 hijackers' seats.
Flight 11 crashed into the World Trade Center North Tower at 8:46 a.m.
She remained on the phone with authorities, relaying critical information for almost 25 minutes.
The San Francisco Fire and Police Department joined forces Saturday to remember Betty Ong and each person who perished.
KRON4.
During Saturday morning ceremony, San Francisco Fire called out the names of the 343 firefighters who lost their lives on 9/11.
We keep this memory alive to honor those who lost their lives, to honor their families, and to honor all of those that were impacted.
They paid tribute with the ringing of the bell. It's a long tradition in the fire service, which signifies the last call for a firefighter.
Something we do anytime a firefighter passes away on duty.
Harry said their mother wondered why Betty never called home that morning before the crash.
I told her that Betty did what she was trained to do, that it was her first duty.
He credits flight attendants for also being first responders, just in a different uniform. In San Francisco, Camila Barco, KRON4 News.
Here's a look at other ceremonies taking place across the Bay Area today. Santa Clara and San Mateo Fire Departments hosting a flag ceremony, holding a solemn ceremony outside, ringing a bell in which a 5555 pattern, which is the notification for a death in the line of duty. Meanwhile, in Fremont, a large display could be seen remembering the more than 300 firefighters killed that day 20 years ago. The only plane that did not hit its intended target back on September 11th, 2001 was United Flight 93. That plane was headed for either the U.S. Capitol building or the White House. But the passengers and crew overtook the hijackers, sacrificing their own lives, crashing the plane in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. That plane was headed for the Bay Area. One of the flight attendants on board was Oakland native Wanda Green. KRON4's Noelle Bello shows us how she's now being remembered 20 years later.
We consider her a hero, and we appreciate the fact that people celebrate Wanda and the other heroes on Flight 93.
A flight attendant with United Airlines for 29 years, Wanda Green was one of the first African-American flight attendants with United, a dedicated mother of 2 children and very active in the New Jersey community in which she lived. But her hometown was Oakland, and on September 11th, she planned to visit with her family on her layover from Flight 93. But Wanda and the 43 others on board that plane never made it.
We're very proud of her and the other passengers that fought these terrorists and denied them to use that plane as a bomb heading for Washington, D.C.
Sondre Swanson is Wanda's cousin. He was also chief of staff for Congresswoman Barbara Lee on September 11th, 2001. He says the acts of all those on board Flight 93 are an example of the courage of America.
These passengers, because of cell phones, knew what was happening, and they very consciously made a decision to take this plane down and not let it harm anyone else. These are all patriots.
Later, we learned that Flight 93 more than likely was coming into the Capitol. And so today I'm thinking especially of those heroes on Flight 93 who saved many lives because they took that plane down.
Congresswoman Lee was inside the Capitol that morning. She holds a special place in her heart for her chief of staff's cousin, Wanda Green.
For me personally, it's a very somber day, very reflective, and my thoughts and prayers go out to Sondre's family, Wanda's family, and all of those who lost so many lives and loved ones.
Green was 49 years old, gone, but never forgotten. Noelle Bello, KRON4 News.
Tonight, KRON4 will bring you a 30-minute special on the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. You can catch it tonight at 10:30 right here on KRON4 News. And as we go to break tonight, a live look at Washington, D.C. at Ground Zero right now in New York City. You can see those 2 beams up in the skies tonight, replacing where the Twin Towers once stood. We'll be right back.